Right, not a lot of time to go through a whole lot of anything, but I just want to say good evening, everybody, and welcome to round 4 of Division 2. It is round 4 here in the Jeddah circuit, and we are just going to go through our standings very quickly because the countdown to qualifying is currently in process. So now, Quincy retiring last week in Australia means that Pleasant Lake takes a 17-point lead in his championship charge for this division. Quincy having to settle for second for the time being. And with that, Race Chase is 8 points behind in third, but the McLaren's knocking out second and third in the drivers, but not too far behind. Truckster looking to continue his epic start despite missing round 2 in Silverstone. He is currently fourth with Energetic rounding out your top 5. Then, of course, the return of the Herman going very well indeed, taking the win last week in Australia. He is 6th at the moment, followed by Mr. Cloudsad, Ryan Brooks, Tarkangino, and Toby rounding out your top 10. Then from 11th to 15th, it is No Sebo, Kovachka, Eugene, Skid Solo, and Quan, rounding out your top 15. And then from 16th to 20th is Devsy, ADS, Ibo, Eman, and Bruiser. In your team standings, it is a Mercedes lead now. Of course, remember, Quincy retiring from the last race, meaning that the McLaren lose their hold on the Constructors' Championship. And that means they are relegated second place. So Mercedes with a 13-point lead going into this evening. And the top two very much in a race of their own, as the next team behind is in third, 32 points behind, with Williams 9 points behind, and the Haas following on, also 9 points behind. But remember, Ryan Brooks can still bring the Haas team back into this. And then from 6th to 10th, we have Ferrari, Aston Martin, Alpine, Red Bull, and Sauber looking for something to grab onto. Just give us a moment while we adjust the game to the correct size. But otherwise, qualifying, as you can see, is underway. We'll be with you just in a brief few moments. And there we go. And we do have a certain special guest here with us today. Some of you might know her if you're regular on here, but for those in SSRL, an introduction to an Assetto Corsa legend, a winner in several Assetto Corsa leagues, but her most prominent one being in Assetto Formula Racing. It is the co-commentator, the legend. It is Sarah Morfetova. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing all right. Still sort of wrapping my head about around being in a new environment here in this league, but I've watched some of the streams before. I recognize some of the names here, and after yesterday, especially in the first division of this league, I'm quite excited to see some action here. Whether it's clean, whether it's dirty, whether it's chaotic, whether it's absolutely bonkers. I cannot wait to see it, and I'm I couldn't think of anyone better to take me through it than you here, Dave.
Well, thank you very much. We've got a new guy here. His name's Bart. He's taken up the Red Bull, currently classified in second, but of course no flying laps to come in. And Cerebro, usually towards the back end of the field. Of course, the Saubers being represented in currently last place in the Constructors as well. So not really much hope for them to climb up the order, unless if they really have a driver change in the middle of the season. And of course, next week we'll be in Spa-Francorchamps, which will represent the halfway point of the season. And Sir Ibo making a very catastrophic mistake there with the Racing Bull not too far there. That will be of Svena, who was with us last night in that chaotic race, which saw plenty of crashes and plenty of DNFs in that race. Of course, Edwin's hoping for a cleaner Division 2. And for everybody that was with us last night, well, we're just hoping for better this time. But Sir Ibo not getting things in the right direction. So let's see how Svenek can do on this flying lap. Of course, the fastest street circuit on the F1 calendar. And, well, we've got one of the fastest drivers to take us through this. Now, have you actually driven around Jeddah before in any shape or form?
I have. I've driven around Jeddah in a Formula One 2013 car, in 2010 car, um, in an Assetto Corsa league, and it was very challenging. This track, it's absolutely thrilling. The walls are very close, but it's so fast and it challenges the downforce of your car. But you don't want maximum downforce, maximum rear wing for the entire track, because there are still some plenty long straights and surprisingly good overtaking opportunities, namely into the last turn and into turn one. Uh, and that is also aided by the DRS zones on this track, which there are 3 of. One of which being added in later instances of this race in real life. And I believe one DRS zone also being taken away from real life, where it was right before this turn as we're watching Sveta going through it on what I assume is a slow lap, just going into the pits or recharging battery for another push run.
Just got a chat in here. Moksha saying good evening. He was here to witness the carnage that was here yesterday. No dramatics as of right now. Suribo just having a little spin on his opening flyer, and that's really the best drama that we've seen as of right now. But early times coming in to Brown up into second, and it's Herman leading the way, of course, be your winner from last week in Australia. He looking to make it 2 in a row, but also looking to get his first win of the season. Truckster, not actually seen him take a win, mostly known for his 3-second penalties in the past, but because he missed Silverstone, despite that, he has a second and a third to his name, looking to make that 2 in a row for tonight, and also bring the Williams up on the constructors standings a little bit going into this. They are currently 4th place and 9 points behind. It's the Racing Bulls outfit, and we are not missing any of the Racing Bulls drivers, but we still have times to come in as of right now. Bird's here to go to end. Well, no, just going through his halfway through his flying lap right now. He's at turn 13, and he's the newer driver for tonight. Of course, automatically fills in the reserve wall. Now, just to let everybody know, reserves do not score points in the Constructors' Championship, and they also, I believe, have a championship of their own, if I've remembered that correctly. So they won't go towards the official championship until they become a full-time driver, if that is to happen. But Bard's coming to the end of his flying lap now through turns 23, 22, 23, 24. Now approaching the end, second DRS zone around here. And now coming up to turn 27. Bit of traffic in his right. They need to move out the way as per the rules, or else it gives you a penalty if you impede the lap. Bed's there, bit of a lockup on the entry, now through the exit, foot to the floor, and then the final DRS zone comes at the pit entry there. You don't need to not cut the right line, but he decides to avoid that, and that is a 128.6 from the debutant Bards. So, Sarah, a bit of information for you. Ones we are looking out for are Trugster, Herman the German. We're also looking out for Ryan Brooks there, down in 17th, and his race ended catastrophically early. It was lap 1, turn 5 in Australia in the wet, understeered, just couldn't find a way through, and that meant that championship contender Quincy also retired. So just kind of giving you a little bit of an edge here, but McLaren's overall are the stronger team, but the Mercedes not too far behind that, as you can see, locking out first and second right now, Zara.
Yeah, and it definitely shows how so far it's been a short season, and it's got the standings are gonna even out a little bit more as we progress further. But it really shows that how one bad result can really shake up the championship, and especially if it's more than one bad result, because you can shrug it off, think you're you're fast, you're gonna be faster, and by the end of the season you're gonna catch up. But what if those results happen more often? It's really easy to underestimate how much you need consistency in a championship. Because it's one thing to be fast; it's another thing to finish what you really set yourself up for. As we see, Quincy set himself up for pole position right now, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. You might qualify on pole, and you might have the overall pace, but you need to really keep yourself out of trouble and carry it until the very last lap.
And here we go. Speaking of carrying momentum, this is on to the first flying lap for Ryan Brooks here. Of course, didn't reach the end of lap 1, only got to turn 5 before he DNF'd from the entire race. But of course, he knows, he always says he's happy with the podium. And where does his first flying lap put him? With just around 10 minutes to go, that's pole position by nearly half a second.
And I think there is still more to come from that, because we're seeing a lot of drivers going deep into the last turn, which is very, very easy to do. That braking zone is super deceptive. It invites you to turn in early, it invites you to brake late, but it's so difficult to judge it because it's completely blind. You don't see the exit until you're right on it, and uh, it's easy to go deep because of that. Ooh, as we see, and
ADS.
yeah, I'm more trying to describe what just happened, but it's a video game. Fortunately, we won't see a Bearman type incident in Silverstone, which I thought was quite embarrassing. In this game, it's completely okay. So you do whatever you need to do to get into the pit lane. But yeah, as I was gonna say, that last corner, uh, it's a very difficult to set yourself up for a good exit, and it's really easy to go deep, which really with how it exits onto the last straight from a low speed corner, you need a good exit, and that's gonna play a role, especially in the race. And I do feel like, yeah, I do feel like there is more to come from the drivers.
I would not too, yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised if we do see more times. Fellow Son is also coming across the line now with just, well, under 8 minutes to go. Comes to the line now, 7th place. That's nearly half a second of an improvement, which is technically what we saw between the difference from first to second from Ryan Brooks and Quincy there. So definitely more to come, as Sarah is saying, as now we are following Tabran here. Now, Tabran usually likes to be in the middle, in the top 10, but I've not seen him really compete for the championship. Just to give you an idea, of course, that's Trugster, Quincy, Herman, and Ryan, who are really there at the top. There is somebody I believe I am missing here. In fact, Pleasant Snake is not with us. He's away on holiday. And also, just for those that don't know, because of penalties from Fellow Son last week, he will serve a post-race 3-second penalty. And so that will be coming his way post-race. But that was an improvement from Tabran there, but not improvement enough. And now we have Season 1 champion, Herman the German, to take a flying lap. Sarah, do you want to do the honours? As Quan is disqualified.
I would do the honors. I don't remember the corner names of this track, but here is a very high-speed section of the track. It's very thrilling. You need to be very precise on the curbs. Sacrifice the entry here to get a good exit and a straight line over that curb, because if you get unsettled at all over that curb, it's gonna spit you into the wall, as we saw with Mick Schumacher in 2022 in qualifying here. But he gets it well as he gets snappy on the exit and spins out, loses control, and that is easy to do with the rear tires going overheated through that high-speed section, and that's really the challenge with this track. It's just high-speed corner after high-speed corner with walls very close, and it's really easy to make mistakes from the tires just overheating, and particularly the rear tires. You're just going to reach a point where they just cannot take it anymore, and you're lucky really to not making it out of the wall, and it's very fortunate that he's going to be able to come back to the pit and try another lap after a mistake like that. But all things considered, that is one of the more fortunate places where you want to make a mistake. uh, One of the places where you really do not want to make a mistake is, for example, turn 22, I think, or 23.
Just with that runoff after the DRS zone.
Yeah, that one.
Yes, no, I do know what you mean. That's 22, which we're coming up to right now. We'll see it.
This one right here. This is where a corner where you really do not want to make a mistake, because if you do, you're either going to be spat out right into the wall, or best case scenario, you're going to be facing sideways on the racetrack and hoping no one hits you.
Yeah, no, we saw that a couple of times as well from last night. I mean, Andy made a mistake through that section of corners, not at the very place that you stated, but it just looks like it was just, well, not Andy making a mistake, but he unsafely rejoined after contact with Control, who is with us in the chat today. Actually, he's Rumbrance02, had very bad timing VSC, and yeah, he just blew his race up a couple of times, but of course there was contact with Andy, which I still haven't seen, by the way, so I still can't give my verdict on that. As Sveda right into the pits, I think he's just come off his flying lap, so that is 8th place for him. Race chase here now on another flyer in the McLaren. Of course, McLaren hoping to take back the championship lead in the constructors, and they are firmly in the right direction. Quincy, the teammates to race chase, currently in 2nd, but nearly half a second away from Ryan Brooks. Of course, Haas starting tonight in 5th place in the constructors. And of course, Ryan hoping to get further than turn 5 on lap 1. As now Race Chase up by nearly, well, over half a second there. Second DRS zone to come. I'll need to get that right at some point. But here we go. Rear wing opening, down to turn 27. Goes Race Chase, the American driver, through turn 27. He goes, and well, that looked nice and tight there. So what Sarah was talking about, it's easy to go wide there, but Race Chase kept that tight and all coordinated, and that's second place there, pipping his teammate, and then McLaren's look out second and third. Sarah, that was a nice final corner from Race there.
Yeah, it absolutely was, and it's very good to see someone slotting into that half a second gap, which is all things considered in the race. Oh, as we see an Alpine there off the racetrack, but keeping out of the way and keeping out of the wall and keeping safe, and not impeding anyone and not causing any trouble. But yeah, it's good to see someone fitting into that half a second gap, because in racing terms, that's an eternity, and I would not be surprised to see Quincy falling down further if what Ryan is showing is really the potential of this racetrack and how fast you can really go. But the question is, how many of those drivers are able to really keep up with that pace?
Not many, I'll say that for free. I mean, you got usually we'll have Pleasant Snake, but he's away on holiday. I don't think he's going to be with us tonight anytime soon. We usually also have Quincy keeping up with the pace. Herman as well. He qualified third last week, so he can definitely keep up with the pace. But Ryan Brooks has proven to be real quick. And just to kind of give you an idea, he was with us last night for Division 1. Took the race win, so he's looking to make it 2 in a row around the same track, as we have an Alpine going very slowly there. I think that's the same one we saw earlier on. That's either Kavachka or ADS. Let me try and just figure that out. That was definitely ADS, so that might have been who we saw last time out. But here we go, closing moments of qualifying. We have Quincy out of the pits, Ryan Brooks staying firm, staying put for now, as Quincy now begins his outlap. But Herman on the same kind of idea. He's also on his final outlap, and Trugster about to start a flying lap. Fellow Sun as well on his final flyer. Here we go, across the line, DRS open, and that is 7th place. But now I think he's got just enough time to cool everything down and go one last time, but he'll have to make this a quick cool down lap. He doesn't have a lot of time, about 13 seconds separating him from the end of the session. So, who are you looking out for in your final few minutes? I know you're new to the league, but you're already starting to get an idea of who's pacey. Who do you think has got the edge on this turn around here in Saudi Arabia?
I think, considering the pace right now, I think it's going to be difficult for the drivers far behind to find enough time to beat Ryan here. But I am very interested to see how the rest of the top 4 shakes out, and actually even the top 5, because the brand is not far behind at all, and you never know where someone might find an improvement. But really, with this game, how the track evolution works, how the track ramps up in qualifying towards the end, anyone can still improve. And when it's a matter of less than a tenth, it can shake up completely, and the entire order can be flipped on its head just in that final run. So really, as we see Nosebo invalidating on that run, and that's going to be it. He's not going to have energy for another run, so he will stay where he is or fall down as other drivers improve, though realistically it's only going to be Sir Ibo who's going to be able to jump him, as the rest are in the pits, or as we see Felson retiring from the session.
In the pit lane, don't worry.
Yeah, and that's going to be it for him. But we're now seeing the checker flag flying, so these will be the final laps, and as they cross the line, the order will be established as we see it live on the leaderboard right now, with Herman the German now going into the final DRS zone before the final corner, if we're not counting the DRS zone on the start finish rate. And I'm curious to see how does he hit this braking wall. Presents in very early, but carries it very well, as we see a starburst sideways on the racetrack, but thankfully off the racing line, allowing Herman the German to keep pushing, open his DRS to the line, shortest line, and he gets pole position. For now, is anyone behind able to beat that? Maybe a Race Chase or Quincy, they are still pushing on, going into the final sector right now. Quincy hits that turn 22, or I need to educate myself on these numbers.
He's backing out. I don't think he's going that much quicker.
Yeah,
in fact, yes, he's
not opening his DRS.
And also, he's missing his front left end plate, so something happened there. And for Race Chase as well, backing out of his lap. So Ryan Brooks is on a fast one as of right now. He is going through Sector 3, final DRS zone technically, but then, of course, you have the final turn. And then, actually, this is the final DRS zone. Qualifying has concluded. The McLarens can't go faster, but will Ryan go faster? Yes, he will, by nearly, well, over 3.5 tenths of a second there. Rowley could prevent something. He can't. What about the debutant? No, he cannot. What about No Sebo? No, he is going slowly. Qualifying concludes. It's Ryan Brooks, pole position. And of course, if you were in chat yesterday and where Ryan Brooks took his victory in Division 1 as a full-time driver, well, Quincy said, I sniff a promotion. So Ryan Brooks might be a Division 2 driver no longer after tonight. And that is quite a wipeout there. But Ryan Brooks could have been in the 26s if he'd have tried hard enough. But no, 27-1. No mean feat there. That's quite a good time.
To be fair to all of the drivers in Division 1, saying that he's on pole position right now and that he won the last race does not tell the full story of yesterday.
It does.
I don't think... I think anyone could have realistically won that, but still. That is an impressive margin for Ryan to be on pole by. That's 3.5 tenths.
Absolutely, and there we go. We'll just go through your official qualifying results. So rounding out your top 5 was Ryan Brooks, Herman, Race Chase, Quincy, and Tabran, with 6 tenths being decided by Sveta, Truckster, Fellow Sun, ADS, and Rowley, with 11th to 15th decided by Bairds, Kovachka, Toby, No Sebo, and Sergeant Devsey, with the rest of the drivers being Cerebro, Skid Solo, Emin, and finally a disqualification for blocking the pit lane entry, Quan, who will start 19th, and in very familiar territory, I have to say. That's not me being rude, that's just unfortunately the way he usually goes, but he does kind of try and be on the lower end of the points, so do expect him to be fighting for a point or two. Now, here we go. It is going to be a 5-minute cooldown from qualifying to the race, and it is going to be very interesting. Now, I just want to let everybody know, because on the calendar it said a reverse grid 100% race. That is no longer happening. So, how it's going to work now is I'm going to decide at the very last call when the reverse grid will be. Now, it's not going to be tonight, because I think that is just too short notice, and after the chaos of last night, I think we could save ourselves from more chaos. I don't think anybody would be happy with me. So, we're not going to do that tonight, but from, I think he said it was, I think we don't want it for the final, we don't want it for the final round, so I can't call it then, but I've got to call it before then. So we'll see what I decide to call it, but I don't feel like it tonight. But we are going to be underway in about 4 minutes' time, so 7:56 UK time. But that, of course, depends on who you ask, because my clocks are different on every single device that I have, so I don't actually know what that's going to look like. But anyway, final few minutes of preparation now. Sarah, what would be the strategy now? The tyre wear is not as aggressive as F124, but at the same time, you've been on one of these before where we saw a 2-stop, and I don't think it's going to be any different here, but of course we have to wait until safety cars are considered as well. And also, in comparison to last night, that was a pretty clean qualifying as well. So nothing crazy has happened right now, but we still have a 25-lap race to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for this race, most drivers are going to be preparing themselves to be in the best position in case a safety car comes out at any point, and that can completely come down to luck, because on this track safety cars are almost guaranteed in most leagues, especially with a nearly full grid. The walls are tight, the margins are very, very small, and it usually takes something to be able to overtake on this track, even with those DRS zones helping out the drivers. But in this game now, with more dirty air and making it more difficult to follow in the high-speed corners, it's gonna take the drivers to be a little bit closer to each other when they're fighting, and I think that is going to make it very difficult to not have a safety car in this race. So you can think of an optimal strategy for minimum race time, but realistically, it's going to be determined by the drivers around you, and the safety cars.
Absolutely. We'll see what, of course, happens once we get into the race. But if there's no safety cars, do expect this to be a two-stop. A lot of rear tyre wear and a lot of, I would say, because this is a clockwise circuit, if I've got that. No, I haven't. It's an anti-clockwise circuit. Yeah, it's counterclockwise. Yeah, you're correct. Counterclockwise circuit. So most of the rear should be on the right-hand side of the tyres. But, of course, this is a video game. We're not sure if that's even simulated. But it will be certainly interesting to see how the strategies play out, and of course, safety cars going to play in a big one to that. But otherwise, here we go. We're going to start our formation lap. We're going to get the music ready, and then we'll just go through your grid one last time, including the start. So just give me a moment. We'll be right with you, and then we'll just run through the grid one last time. So here we go. We're going to go racing with Ryan Brooks in pole position. Then it is Herman the German rounding out second place there with Race Chase in third, SSRL Quincy there in fourth. Then in fifth place is Tabran, of course, replacing Pleasant Snake while he's away on holiday. So he's a reserve. He won't score any points for the Mercedes constructor. Sveta Frenek in sixth place will start alongside him with Trugster hoping for better. Last week, Trugster qualified second, so 5 places down. Can he make those 5 places up in the race to make it 3 podiums from 4 races? Fellow Son in 8th place, contender for last season in the championship as well, but couldn't beat Andy Andre, and Andy's no longer racing in Division 2 as this is now base-paced. ADS in 9th with Rowley, actually having a good time in PFRL on the Friday nights, but not having a good time, as good of a time here in SSRL. He starts 10th with Beds. The new driver starting from 11th position with Kavachka in 12th, Toby in 13th, Nosebo 14th, Sergeant Dempsey in the other Ferrari rounds out 15th. Then 16th and 17th is Sir Ibo Skitsolo in both Saubers, Evans Boy 18th, and facing disqualification in qualifying for blocking the pit lane entry is Kwan in 19th. But Ryan Brooks now bringing the 18 drivers to the front of the field. We are just waiting a few moments from lights out. So to get those tyres warmed up, and then we'll soon be underway. And of course, in Assetto Corsa, you don't really have experience in formation laps, do you really?
Nope, not at all. The only thing I can really compare it to is safety car restarts, which are technically possible in Assetto Corsa using some external apps, which are not in the base game by default. So this is very unfamiliar territory for me as a driver, yes.
Absolutely. Just so you know as well, if you do see any disqualifications come up on your left-hand side, their tyres go cold in the snap of a finger, which obviously doesn't help you. So you want to keep those temperatures in the tyre. Make sure you slot onto your grid correctly, which the top 4 shouldn't have a problem with. Oh, no. Herman and Ryan Brooks disqualified. So they did not quite line up correctly. And now their tyres will be called, as will Baird's, and will anybody else's. Kwan just starting to line up. In fact, the bottom 4 lining up onto their grid slots. Nobody else facing disqualification from the warm-up lap. And now, here we go. The countdown will begin. We have 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's going, Jenna, and I think there was a delayed start there from Herman. The McLaren's really got off well. Quincy especially passed his teammate already, but there's a Racing Bulls thing. It's, oh no! Racing Bulls in the air! Who was that? I think that was Fenner. There's more chaos in turn 1. And what happened last night transfers into tonight. It is a bad start there. I think that was a Racing Bulls. I think that was of Sveta, who just got a bit too optimistic into turn 1, and Quincy smashed right into the side of him. Not any fault of his own, but already chaos at the first lap and the first turn already, Sarah.
There's not enough space at turn 1 for all of those cars to fit in there like that. The drivers need to be more careful and need to be more patient, especially on the first lap. Like there were cars absolutely everywhere in the first sector, and now they've sort of calmed down a little bit and turned from a four wide moment into a sort of snake now, with the Red Bull of Nosebo overtaking Emin, as we see more chaos and more cars going side by side and trying to sort of almost avoid each other into coming in now into the third sector of the track. So far no DRS, but already a lot of carnage. And we've barely even started, and I'm amazed, Dave, that there has not been any safety car or any virtual safety car for all of that carnage, because there had to have been a lot of debris on the racetrack.
Well, put it this way, you usually have to see a retirement before you see any kind of intervention, especially around here. If there's enough runoff and there's debris all the way to the side there, no intervention is really called. So, not too surprising from my point of view anyway, but I could understand it from, if you like, coming from a real life perspective. But there wasn't really enough there for the game to say, I'm going to call an intervention here. As Sveda has retired in the pit lane, and he might feel a bit hard done there, but the fact he might feel Quincy turned in on him. But I can promise you that's not what happened. Oh, are we already? I thought we were already approaching lap traffic there. That would have been very unlikely, but it is just the leader, Ryan Brooks, and Herman the German, already separated by over a second. Ryan Brooks has just got something there. Ignore the caution in Sector 3. That's just for Sveda to disappear, and there we go. That has happened, so we will resume on under green flag conditions. At the moment, though, the field's starting to spread out a little bit already, and all the battles, the closest ones anyway, are for the bottom half of the field. And at the moment, it's going to be really hold station at the moment. If you're looking at a pit strategy, Sarah, if you're either Herman or Ryan Brooks, or maybe one of the outside the top two, what kind of strategy are you going for? And there's the tire tower for you just to see the strategies.
Right now, I would personally be worrying more about track position, as we see Williams go completely wide to overshooting the turn. I'm not sure he even braked. Maybe he had a hardware failure or something, but that did not look normal, did he? It almost looked like he forgot the corner was there as he went side by side and maybe got distracted a little bit, but that's going to be heavy damage and surely a trip to the pit lane now as he crosses the final corner. But now we're seeing Herman the German close behind Ryan Brooks and sort of breaking away from the rest of the field with chaos on every single lap so far, though we are only in lap 3. But yeah, I was honestly quite surprised to see Sveda retiring in the pit lane, because honestly he was quite lucky not to retire on the spot there at turn 1, and with how chaotic it was yesterday, you would expect a safety car at one point or another. So quitting that early feels like a bit of a wasted opportunity, because anything could have still happened, and surely there's going to be an intervention at some point as we see a yellow flag through sector 2.
That will have been just for an off-track vehicle, don't worry.
Yeah, probably just an off-track, but now we're seeing Herman jumping side by side with Ryan Brooks for the race lead. Herman on the hard tires while Ryan, I believe, is on mediums and going wide in the dirty air of Herman, just losing composure a little bit and probably getting an off-track warning for that. Well, while this is a street track, quote-unquote, with the walls very close and nowhere to really go off-track, you can still get a track limit penalty for corners like that, where you have a little bit of runoff and you can overshoot it quite easily. But now he's going back on Herman the German, and it almost feels like they're swapping DRS and trying to work with each other to break away from the rest of the field and make it a private battle between themselves, as we see Quincy again almost overshooting turn 1 and having to slow down a lot on exit, and that's gonna make the gap in the top 3 grow even bigger. But we're seeing so many battles here up and down the field, so many overtakes, and it feels like it's going to be a race. Oh, as we see the Haas overshoot it and rejoin the track a little bit dangerously. I'm not sure that's exactly what you want to do when you overshoot the turn. But yeah, as we see Sir Ibo going very slowly, and there's way too much happening, Dave. I need a breather.
That's no problem at all, but at the moment, the closest battles out on track are all up and down the field. And yeah, no, Sarah unable to keep up with, but there's Toby going very wide. His teammate suffered a very unfortunate fate down through turn 1. Quincy just trying to take the turn, and Svedev looking for a gap, which really wasn't there to begin with. And Svedev's car went flying into the air, continued on into the pit lane where they retired, and I think I know why, because there would have been underbody damage as well. Don't forget that is simulated as well. Side pod damage is Bairds there, fighting away through the sister team, but the sister team currently higher than the actual main team, as Ryan Brooks there being overtaken by Herman yet again. Can Quincy try and make a dent here? He's 2.2 seconds back. Ryan Brooks, of course, trying to fight for the championship with Pleasant Stake not being here. But here we go again. Will Herman and Ryan Brooks swap? Yes, they do. I think Herman's just getting out of the way. Go on.
I think I know what the top 2 are doing, because this is actually very beneficial for both of them. because Ryan is on the medium tires, Herman is on the hard tires, and we'll see that for majority of the lap, Ryan is ahead using that softer tire, those softer tires to just use the pace and let Herman just follow along. Then they swap before the last corner to make use of the DRS, and then they swap back again. So Ryan is still ahead for the rest of the lap where grip matters. And I suspect that later in the stint, once the medium tires die a little bit and the hards come to their own, because they do have a longer tire life. I suspect it's gonna swap, where Herman is going to be the one carrying Ryan Brooks along for most of the lap, and then they're gonna DRS swap to break away from the rest of the pack, and this is beneficial for both of them.
Absolutely. We saw a little mistake from, well, we didn't see it, but off camera, to Brown making a little mistake through the actual sections of, it was turns 6 to 7 and 8, and that meant Quincy had to go through, but no DRS assistance. And here we go again. This is what Sarah was talking about. Ryan and Herman swapping the DRS. It's now over 3 seconds to Quincy behind, and he's lost that DRS assistance. Gonna see the swap in action again. Baird's getting past Trugster in the background for 8th place, by the way, as there you go. Herman allowed Ryan through there. Just a bit of fun facts for you, Sarah. If you actually stay too long within the dirty air of the car in front and you stay within their slipstream, you actually lose top-end power and you will lose top speed as well. So you do actually need to actually find clear air like you do in real life. So there's actually a little detail for you just to consider, and that is why Herman isn't actually fighting Ryan too hard either, and just allowing him clean air to go through. So yeah, just a nice little detail there added in from Cody's.
Yeah, and it's good to see the game improving every year. Totally. We're not going to talk about F1 24. That was totally an upgrade from F1 23.
I mean,
regardless, it's good to see the game getting more detail and finally have some dirty air to break up the endless DRS trains that we saw in almost all leagues on this game, especially F1 Esports, or F1 Sim Racing as it's called now, even though it's not a simulator. But anyway, we're now seeing Herman Jimmer right on the back of Ryan Brooks through that fast corner. I would almost say he should leave a little bit more margin into a corner like that, because the dirty air there is going to be absolutely horrible to deal with and almost damage his tires. And now
goodness.
Oh, and we see Quincy without a front wing.
Yeah, a mistake that I think happened through turns, like, that little section where you said, don't make a mistake on. Quincy's gone and done that and is now forced into an early pit stop. The undercut advantage will be somewhat negated here because of the fact that, he's gonna need time for that front wing to come off and then put that back on. So that's going to add on an additional 10 seconds or so, 10 or 12 seconds. So any undercut is not really going to be possible here. Quincy will now come out of the pits, but now really Ryan Brooks and Herman the German with free real estate. They've got one less driver to worry about and really no one else to worry about, because the next car behind, 4.2. Go on.
Well, speaking of the top two, I don't know if you noticed, but Herman this time, they did not swap DRS. Coming into the last turn, Herman stayed behind and now he has a 1 second gap to Ryan Brooks. So I wonder if Ryan Brooks is maybe not willing to cooperate anymore, or does Herman have damage of some sort, or whatever is happening, they're not working together anymore.
Herman's got right into the 6/10 window again, so it looks like there might have been a brief mistake from Herman. That's really all I can assume. We are starting to get to the end of some of the tire life for the mediums, but go on, Sarah.
I know, but he was right behind in the last corner, and he did not overtake with the DRS. In fact, it looked like the gap just grew, so maybe he's just being patient or staying behind or whatever is happening. I would love to see what happens here, because now he has DRS again, he has a good exit, and surely with the slipstream he's going to be able to overtake, but no, he's falling behind.
I can see Ryan Brooks using his battery and he's on recharge going into the entry, so I think, yeah, you're right. I think Ryan Brooks is starting to say, look, you're going to have to overtake me the hard way now. They've stopped working together. The gap is still increasing as No Sebo gets a 3-second track limits penalty there, and he's overtaken Toby, who is into the pits. So really no worries there for the Red Bull driver, although he does have a 3-second penalty that's come his way just a few moments ago. And oh my goodness me, look at this. Quincy and Skid Solo in a battle. This is not who Quincy would have wanted to initially be battling with, but he's got past rather easily. He'll continue on, keeps it within track limits just about, although by a pixel or two, I would say. But at the moment, Quincy now on a hard recovery drive. And we've got a follow here, Clingy Plate 6322. Thank you for the follow. And also Rush Siri here, saying that Quincy has the 3-stopper. Sergeant Devsey with a 3-second penalty of his own. So that is the 4th driver tonight as we have a caution in Sector 1 for a kick. Sauber facing the wrong way out of turn 2. No VSC called, no debris, maybe an end plate as for the Marshal as a little early Christmas present, but that is really about it. But Herman sticking within that 1-second window to Ryan Brooks, Sarah.
And all things considered, it's been a clean race so far, which is amazing to see after the first few laps where we had a car in the air and cars absolutely everywhere, 4 wide at some point, I would say, in that first lap. And yet we've not had any interruption. We've only had 1 DNF and everyone is keeping it clean. There's not much chaos, but there's a lot of action everywhere as we see ADS now move into the top 3, into the podium positions. And yeah, 5 seconds behind the top 2 who are still breaking away, even if they don't seem to be working with each other right now. Perhaps Herman now choosing to save battery, or maybe his engine is now overheating in that dirty air, but yeah, even with that, they are still pulling away every single corner. And they are really, at least in this tier, those two are in a league of their own.
They really are, of course, as we have a caution for a Haas driver, but I promise you that's not Ryan Brooks. That is Emin with no front wing at the same place where Quincy lost his front wing. And Quincy now is on a recovery drive, just set the fastest up there. I think it was a 1:29. Let me just double check for you now. 1:31.281. Apologies there. So we'll go back to looking at the intervals, but Emin will be forced into a pit stop of his own. And here we go. Kerman is the closest he's been for a while now. DRS will open again, but Ryan Brooks has optimal straight line speed. He was talking about the battery usage on the final lap last night, how he kept second place for Bastian behind, who of course is championship leader in Division 1, but now has to keep a former world champion behind. In Division 2, Herman, Season 1 champion, has been second best to Andy Andre, and now in Tier 2, he has got a chance at the title again, but has to find a way past Ryan Brooks. Didn't find one there on that straightaway. And so, speaking of championship contenders, Quincy moves up into 10th place, but of course an academic overtake, and now there's action for 5th place. Goodness me, it's all kicking off. As soon as one driver overtakes, the rest soon follow. But it is now still ADS in 3rd. And as of right now, as we approach lap 10 out of 25, we are about to be at the halfway point in 2 or 3 laps' time. And at the moment, it is looking like it is going to be a more exciting, a cleaner race as of right now. We'll touch wood, but at the moment, it looks to have been all clean and fair so far, apart from one incident, which we won't talk about.
Yeah.
But like, at the moment, really enjoying this, but it is really going to come down to an absolute chess match as of right now, especially between the top 2. And looking at other battles as well, it's looking like it's going to be decided in the pit strategy or by a DRS. Oh, God, I say that, and then we have caution sector 3.
Spawn in... That's Emin again. Does he have his front wing? He does not. He's lost his front wing for the 2nd lap in a row. At the same corner. That's going to be very frustrating. But anyways, back to our chess match as you describe it. So far, it has been very clean. It has been a chess match, but it seems like it's now game on for the top 2 as Herman is now sticking behind, keeping the DRS. And last lap, we saw both of them doing well to keep it out of the wall on exit. Just also starting to push more and more. This time, they were very cautious, but I wonder if Herman is now going to deploy his battery to overtake Ryan Brooks. Ryan Brooks is now choosing to defend, but to the inside, just as a little wave, but Herman is not deploying. He's not intending to overtake, but he's forcing Ryan to waste his battery, and maybe he's getting ready for the next lap as we see Tabran now go into 3rd place to make it a double podium as of right now for Mercedes. But there have been pit stops, and there are pit stops happening right now, and now the field is going to be shuffled up even more, and the strategy is going to really come into play. And I wonder when Ryan specifically is going to be intending on pitting, because he's on the medium tires and he's taking it almost halfway into the race, and you would suspect that he is going to go onto the hard tires, which should last longer. So I think unless he intends to work with Herman anymore, let him by and use his pace, I think he's going to be going into the pits very soon.
I would agree with that, as we have a caution in Sector 2 for a spun round. I think it was a Kavachka in 5th place there. Actually, I thought that was going to be a Williams, but it's very easy to get the colours all mixed up, as there's a lapped car of Kwan going by there in the... oh, that could be Truckster? No, it's not Truckster. That is definitely Kwan. Going by there, but Herman the German close enough again. By the way, I just want to give a shout out to everybody in chat who's been answering Underling's questions there about Dirty Air. But then, speaking of Dirty Air, we're going to see an overtake here. Herman the German round the outside into turn 27, holds off for now, going to try and cut back under the Haas driver, going on to the exit. But I think Ryan Brooks now, I thought was going to be in the pits there, but he's just defending from the Mercedes. But Herman takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Rowley gets a 3-second track limits penalty, and there we go. Herman now is your new leader of the Grand Prix, and he is now well, in control of this race. And Ryan Brooks definitely losing time with those old medium tires. Race chase now into the pits as well, so undercuts danger here potentially. Do you think for the leaders they have to start surely pitting in the next couple of laps?
Yeah, I think they're going to be pitting very soon, but now Ryan is behind Herman and he has the option to use his pace because Herman is now going to be on better tires. And really, what Ryan did there was exactly what Herman really wanted him to do. He defended into the last corner and got offline, and that is absolutely the worst thing you want to do if you want to keep this position, because really it's all about the DRS into turn 1. And not only that, Herman not only had the DRS there, but he had the battery and had the line, had the gap, and Ryan did not have the exit, and now he's outside of DRS range from Herman. I think this is now going to be the lap, unless he can stay in DRS range, where he wants to go into the pits and change on the tires and maybe try the undercut, because this is a lap where the tires are going to make a difference. And I think once he pits, he's going to get back ahead, as if Herman pits just a lap later than him.
Absolutely, and now look at this. Ryan Brooks still close, but here we go. They're on the start finish straight now, and there you go. As you say, Sarah, Ryan Brooks into the pits. Needs to slow it down, or else it's a 10-second penalty. Does so successfully. Let's keep an eye on which tyre he comes out on, as Bards and Toby are swapping places there. Bards with the DRS. We'll keep an eye on that timing tower. That's the Racing Bulls force right there. Tabran also into the pits. It's a fresh set of hard tyres for the Haas driver. And now, surely, if you're Herman, you come in this lap, don't you?
Yeah, and I forgot what I was gonna say.
That's okay. But at the moment, it's Ryan Brooks out of the pit lane on fresh hard tyres. He does need about a lap or so to get those tyres into their working temperature. And as of right now, and also just to kind of point this out, Quincy up to 4th place there, but he is on 6-lap older medium tyres as of right now, and he will surely be forced to pit again, so he needs a safety car preferably. But all eyes now on the Mercedes of Herman the German. Does he pit this lap to cover off Ryan Brooks, or does he decide to wait another lap? And Ryan Brooks may have DRS sooner rather than later. He's just made his way past the lap car of Kwan there, who just went offline not to impede Ryan Brooks so that he could be allowed to get on with his battle. So if Ryan Brooks has that DRS advantage, that gives him a bit of a boost on this lap as well. So here we go into the first DRS zone, if you're being technical, depending on where you think the lap ends and starts. And now there you go, that rear wing opens for Ryan, and that is going to be a massive speed boost as well. So if I was Herman, I think the time is now, and well, he's going to probably be caught out by an undercut. Let's keep an eye on the battle. He's Ryan Brooks,
Herman's going into the pits.
Brilliant. Herman into the pits. Sarah, you can take it.
Yeah, Ryan did not really need any heroic lap right there, because he has the fresh tires, and those are gonna just gain him a lot of time. All he needed to do was not make a mistake and not get held up, and he is going to come out in front, and I don't think it's gonna be even close. With Herman now on the pit exit, but Ryan coming into the first corner, he comes out ahead, but of course Herman is going to cut the first turn as the pit exit goes, but yeah, it's not even close, and now he even has a car in between them and a 1.5 second gap, and that's just how strong the undercut is on this track. And there you go, and look at this, Herman having to try. Oh, he's going to be held up by Kavachka. He's on 13 lap older tyres as well. You cannot overtake in this section. There's absolutely nowhere to overtake, and he's going to lose so much time to Ryan, who is on fresh tires and he's going to have to drive at Kavachka's pace, and that's going to be really painful, because he needs to get by as soon as possible, and he's going to get impatient, going to go side by side and overtake at a place where you don't usually overtake. But that's just the difference in tires between race stops. And we have a safety car, or virtual safety car.
VSC deployed. We need to find out why. Let's just have there we go. There's your reason. Emin has missed a front wing there, but I think that's not the only reason, I would think. But that is, he would have needed to have had that on the racing line. So I imagine that's come just before this section. And now we have a VSC. Everybody's done their pit stop because Emin has retired.
It's on track.
Oh, that's a penalty, I'm afraid.
That is a penalty.
It is.
I mean, it's understandable because he had a very frustrating evening. I think he's gone through 3 different front wings so far. And I think if that had been a normal safety car, that would have saved him. But yeah, if you're going to retire, you should do it in the pit lane, even if it's under APC. Else we have chaos at the last turn. What is happening here?
And he's trying to find a way through, but yeah, what has happened? There's a Red Bull! Oh my goodness me!
And it's an absolute roadblock. How is this not a safety car?
It will be in a moment.
Finally.
Yeah, no, it's still VSC. This is not a safety car, it's VSC.
What is... Huh?
There is no yellow dot on the track map. That's how I know. And Bairds has lost, I would say, 4 positions from all of that. That says, oh my goodness me! There's a racing balls of Toby going extra slow. Race Chaser's retired. He's crashed somewhere. Drive-through penalty for Quan for speeding under VSC. I don't think anyone knows what's going on.
What is happening right now?
I'm sorry.
There's so much chaos happening everywhere. People crashing roadblocks on the track. People retiring, speeding under VSC, getting penalties. What? It's... Dave, do you have any grasp on what is happening in this race right now?
At the moment, there is certainly... I think what's happened is there might not have been a chance to slow down for Quan. That's the only thing I could assume. Just looking through the penalties, and Quan has a drive-through penalty, so it's not the most severe of penalties, but it's still a time loss, of course. As there you go, DRS enabled again. We're back under green flag racing, but confusion again. An SSRL and Jeddah not really mixing into a calm drink or cocktail. It is a concoction of chaos. And at the moment now, we also have side-by-side racing in the background. 7th position is Trugsters for the time being. He would have loved to have been higher up. He doesn't have a 3-second penalty to his name if you were with us for Season 3. Trugster was an absolute glutton for punishment. And that's Quincy into the pits for his 2nd stop. That could be, I think, another set of medium tyres, but he will lose out on pace. No, that's hard tyre to the end of the race. I'm surprised at that. But now, of course, Race Chase will be relegated down the order. And I am surprised the safety car didn't come out there and then. There was more than reason for that to happen, Sarah. I'm puzzled by that.
If it doesn't take a roadblock on the track to deploy a safety car, I don't really know what does. As we see another yellow flag in this section, that's probably going to be a car facing sideways. Nope, just going wide as we see Sir Ibo drifting slowly into the wall. Huh?
It's okay, this happens, it's just a glitch, but I promise you, he is still going. But there you go, Sir Ibo having a moment through what is turn 5 there. Oh, goodness me, try and get that pointing in the right direction.
It makes me question, does he have technical difficulties? Because that does not seem like normal driver behavior as he's going again without a front wing.
Yeah, that usually explains it all. No front wing. Honestly, you just lose control of the car if you're missing any kind of aerodynamics. And let's remember as well, you do get rear wing damage, you get underbody damage, and you get floor damage and side pod damage. So there's all sorts of things that can go wrong with the car. It is very, very sensitive to damage. So here we go. DRS is opening now for the battle for what is 8th place. A great drive from Bard so far, although he was involved in a roadblock, but he should be able to make that time back up. He's on 4-lap old mediums. As I said, Race Chasers left, so no drama there. That is expected, as now Bairds overtakes for what is 8th position. And then there's also Ferrari battling in the background here. They're approaching this racing bulls at a rate of knots, and that's the Red Bull of note. Sabotelli outside of turn 27. My goodness me, here we go again. Down the start-finish straight we go. 3 wide. as that is Toby off into the pit. So now we need to have a look at how that battle's coming out. DRS open for the Red Bull, but DRS open for the Ferrari. And there is a crash from Kvachka. He's out of the race. And I think there's been another traffic jam. No, we're continuing on. There's the stricken Alpine. No safety car. And it's gone. Goodness me. Wow.
Why has there not been a safety car?
I wonder if there's something in the lobby settings someone has missed. Sorry.
I don't think you can disable safety cars and keep virtual safety cars on, as we see another car just stop there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not. I think that was Quan. It was Quan. Don't worry. That was Quan just getting up. No, it isn't.
I think the fictional race control in this game is just having a smoke right now.
I think, yes, they're on a smoke break right now. How very classy. And, well, there's another caution there. That is for Quan, though, so that is all genuine. So that might have been Quan earlier on, so apologies to anybody there. But 8 laps to go. Many, many heart attacks for us here in the commentary box, and maybe for some spectators. But here we go, Fellow Sun trying to make a move. Coming into turn 27, down the second DRS zone, and he gets that move done successfully, but he will be under pressure from the Red Bull behind, going in down the start finish straight, and there's Trugster 1.6 seconds ahead as Kvachka has left the session for obvious reasons. He's just crashed out with this section we are approaching in a few moments' time, but Fellow Sun has that gap on the Red Bull, so he will hold on to 7th rather comfortably, and 1 second down the road very nearly is Trugster. Fellow Sun currently up 1 position on his qualifying position, beg your pardon. And at the moment, having a good race of things, was championship contender last season. Pit stop in the background as well for Quan there, but there was also an overtake of Rolly and Toby. But anyway, focusing on Fellow Sun here, was championship contender last season, but had to play mostly second fiddle to Andy. Do you know Andy had 13 pole positions in a 14-round season last season? He's in Division 1 now because that is pace-based, but Andy very rarely off the podium, and last night he was, and that just shows you the kind of action SSRL has whenever they come to Jeddah. Yellow flag for slow-moving vehicle, so no worries there. But there you go, just let you know, Sarah, that's the kind of action you expect coming to Jeddah here in SSRL.
I think that's what you expect in Jeddah in any league on this game, because Jeddah is just one of those tracks which is very difficult to race wheel-to-wheel with people, and when you do make a mistake, it's usually catastrophic because you're going at high speed, and high-speed mistakes with walls they are punishing, they are completely unforgiving, and you need to be completely on it or you're gonna crash out of the race and break a few front wings.
Not wrong there at all. Just to give you an update here, Fellow Sun up into 6th position there on Trugster. Herman is still catching the leader, but it slowed down a little bit. It was at 2 seconds, so it might have been a minor mistake, but also those medium tyres might be getting past their best, or Herman is tyre saving. He doesn't need to push too hard. He does have the soft compound, but also needs to watch out because those hards will come into their own later on in the Grand Prix. Well, with only 7 laps to go, it might only be a few laps away, so Herman needs to think about getting in that DRS zone sooner rather than later. But it looks like the closest battle on track, well, is going to be between a few people. Bards has just got a 3-second penalty for track limit violations here. And also, Rolly also trying to get back into the DRS zone of Toby there, who had a bit of a lock-up through turn 4. That's always a bit of a scare, considering how narrow that corner is and how close you can get to that inside wall. But no dramas so far, although a few dramas up and down the field. Roadblock during a VSC, which brought out no safety car, I kid you not. And it has just been another round of, well, not as big as chaos as last night, but certainly still, it doesn't disappoint. That's all I can say for free. But at the moment, just while we're wrapping up the final few laps of the Grand Prix, and still with a couple of battles left to decide, who's been your outstanding driver so far, Sarah?
Well, I wouldn't have one outstanding driver. I would have multiple outstanding drivers, with Ryan and Herman now a complete pit stop ahead of everyone else and keeping out of trouble, keeping it clean, showing us a textbook race of how you race at Jeddah without any mistakes, without any drama, cleanly overtaking your opponent. And then we have the rest of the field. 21 seconds behind and complete chaos, complete carnage, roadblocks, virtual safety cars, front wings everywhere. And that's not to discredit the drivers. This track is very, very difficult. And I think Herman and Ryan are just a, dare I say, a tier above tier 2 in this league.
Well, Herman did actually do some racing in Tier 1, didn't quite take to it, so he's gone down to Tier 2 to try and just get some footing in. And tell you what, he's certainly found it in the past few rounds. He's looking at 2 in a row, but Ryan, also Division 1 winner from last night, also looking to make it 2 in a row in the same track. And of course, we haven't seen that happen since Andy Andre last season in when we had the 2 divisions there, but that was only because of time inconveniences, not on pace differences. It's only this season where that has come about. But Herman's still kind of tripping around that 2-second barrier, but then in the background, his teammate Tabran under pressure. Now, Tabran is a reserve. It was worth remembering, so he won't score any Constructors' points. And, well, for McLaren, that is going to be extremely disappointing because Quincy's teammate Race Chase has crashed out as well. So it's just Quincy flying that flag for the time being and would love a safety car in these final few moments to see if he could close the gap. But we need it this lap. It can't be next lap. As soon as it's 3 laps to go or 4 laps to go, that's it. You don't see safety car again. And Quincy is now getting onto the back of the Mercedes of Tabran and DRS zone coming up, Sarah.
Well, the DRS zone is still quite a bit away, a few corners, as we see a crash or a yellow flag. Is that for a Sauber, I think?
Yep.
That's Sir Abel, and he's gonna get out of the way, or yeah, he shouldn't influence the race much with that mistake. But now we're gonna see Quincy coming into the DRS zone for lap 21 out of 25. He's gonna have plenty of opportunities to overtake it, but we have a Sauber in the barriers there. I hope that does not bring out a last second safety car. No, he's still going, but now we're seeing back to Quincy. We're seeing him open DRS, and as we've seen so many times today, as we see Tabran going wide and Quincy having a slide on the exit, not being able to capitalize off Tabran's poor exit speed, but now he has the slipstream, he has the DRS, and he's probably deploying better. If thinking about it, goes for a last minute send, almost loses the car, loses the rear, trying to lock up and brake as hard as he possibly could.
Oh my goodness, we have a VSC.
What?
And it's the Kick Sauber facing the wrong way through turn 27. VSC deployed for the Kick Sauber. All battles have to be paused again, and yeah, that to me is a safety car. His rear ring has been completely destroyed for Suribo. Now, just to let you know, he can score points from 15th, so as long as he just finishes the race, it's another double points for Kick Sauber. It would only be a singular point in Suribo's case, but with Skid Solo a bit further up the road, so if I calculate this correctly, that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. That is 6 points for the Sauber team. And there you go.
Am I crazy, or did the lap counter go backwards?
No, because the Kick Sauber is
he's
lapped.
2 laps behind. Okay.
Yes, there you go. Yeah, no, you weren't crazy there at all.
Sorry.
No,
I
no
don't
need to
own the game enough.
apologize.
I don't actually own this game.
No, of course. But you're doing a very fantastic job. So, thank you so much. And, don't worry about it at all. That took me a while to learn as well. It's even caught some people in chat out. So, by far, you won't be the first and you most certainly won't be the last. That's all I can say. But VSC should be out of the way within a few moments. It can't be a full safety car anymore. We are now within that 3-lap window. So Ryan Brooks nor Herman will have to worry about that. In fact, nobody has to worry about that. So we're not going to get any last-minute influences as DRS is now re-enabled. And, Ryan spun!
Wait, that's been a mistake.
It's over! Ryan has spun it, and he has lost the lead of the race. He'll be happy with a podium, but I think that might be an exception to the rule as Quincy is through into third place. Goes to McLaren, but Ryan Brooks has lost it from first to second, and he has no front wing at all. He's not just going to lose second, he's going to lose the podium. Oh, Ryan will be a very unhappy boy when we come to the end of this. But there we go. Ryan limping a damaged ass to the end of the lap and heartbreak for Ryan, Sarah.
I think Ryan could have even kept the podium, but the mistake happened so early in the lap. He's now going to have to drive the fastest street circuit in the world, almost the entire lap without a front wing, and that is going to lose him so much time, and it's gonna lose him the podium. Surely he's gonna drop back to P4, and that is going to be so disappointing. I mean, you said he would be happy with the podium, not like that. I think after being in first place for so long, you sort of start to take it for granted and start thinking about the celebrations after the race, but now it's all gone in just an instant as he tried to accelerate off the virtual safety car and just got it all wrong. I wonder if maybe he got tapped or what happened there. I wish we could have replays on F1 25.
I know what's happened. I've just kind of thought about it. He's gone too steep into turn 4. He's made contact with the inside barrier and spun round like that, taking his front wing with him, and they go off into the pits. He is, but that's what's happened.
That is sometimes just what happens when you have a virtual safety car. It breaks your rhythm, and this is very much a rhythm-based track where you need to be fully on it and be in that mindset, be in that flow state to be able to hit these apexes at those speeds every single lap, and because it's very tight margins and you need to be brave, you need to be committed, you need to be fully confident in yourself, and when you have that BS, you just sort of breaks your rhythm and you need to get back into it in an instant. And maybe he got just a little bit over ambitious as he turned off the limiter and got back on the throttle. I don't think they have a limiter in this game, but yeah, that is going to hurt so much. And even if something happens and he ends up with a podium, he's going to be very disappointed with himself for not converting what surely looked like an easy win for him at that stage of the race.
You say easy win, but Herman was not too far away at all. 2 seconds, and he was closing the gap lap by lap. Luckily, Ryan Brooks has held on to 4th, but you've also got to remember underbody damage and floor damage and side pod damage, so maybe that's going to be an influencer in these final few laps, and Fellow Son is not too far away. But in all honesty, 11-lap-old hards to fresh soft tyres. I don't think even any damage, that's not going to keep Ryan Brooks at bay, but he's not going to be close enough to have a go. But now the battle for second place is going to hot up. We have one final lap to go, and Kick Sauber has spun round, and Tabran and Quincy are going to fight it out for that runner-up position on the podium. Tabran to the outside, Quincy to the inside. They're going to just keep it clean. There's a bit of micro contact between them, and they're going to go side by side, and Tabran has lost it on acceleration, and he is going to have to reside back for now. But we still have a couple of DRSOs, and Herman has driven an absolutely perfect race so far, and Tabran, looks like he's just kind of
he's struggling with the rear. At this stage of the race, the rear tires are going to be absolutely cooked, and it seems like Tabran has not been taking too much care with them, and it's really coming back to bite him now, as he seems to be completely unable to handle the car in any safe way or push it in a way that would allow him to make a move on Quincy. As we see now, a final lap overtake for P9 for ADS, though with the time penalties, it's surely not going to matter anymore. But it's a good feeling to come to take it on track. But now we see Herman the German coming around the final corner, and Dave, I think I'll leave this one up to you.
Herman, Season 1 champion, he looked to make it 2 in a row, and he's got to done that. He wins in Saudi Arabia. A perfect drive from our former champion, and he will be looking to take the charge on. But Quincy will be happy with what has transpired tonight. Ryan Brooks with a late mistake means Quincy is right back in this. He will come across the line, although it's second place. He'll be happy with that too. Quincy with that second place, and Tabran will come across the line as a reserve in third, but Ryan Brooks will be heartbroken. He always says at the end of every interview, I'll be happy with the podium. It's just going to have to be 4th place on the fastest lap. He does get an extra point for the fastest lap. No Sebo as well with that 3-second penalty post-race is going to lose out to Truckster here. No mistake from Truckster. No 3-second penalty for him as well. And it is going to be 6th place for Truckster and 7th place for No Sebo. And is there any more fighting up and down the field? No, but apart from that, Rowley, not going to matter. He's got a post-race penalty of 3 seconds coming his way, so he'll have to serve that. But Toby will benefit from that. So Toby is going to benefit from a 12-second penalty down the road to Sergeant Devsey. So Toby will get 10th place there. Skid Solo losing out on a couple of positions as well as Rowley and Toby race to the line. And there goes Sergeant Devs. He even loses out on 11th position. So he's relegated all the way down to 12th. And then Skid Solo comes across the line. And then his teammate Suribo, he's got a long way to go. So we're going to leave that to him. But Herman is your winner for the second time in a row from Australia to Saudi Arabia. He continues his run of form here in Tier 2, and that will climb him up the table quite nicely. Started the night on 35 points, and now with 26 points to his name, that is going to be a very nice total of 61 points, and he is quickly closing up on the battle for the top of the table. We will have top 3 interviews in just a few moments once Ribbo has got across the line. He's also missing a front wing end plate, and he's finally going to come through turn 27 now. But, of course, that bonus point is going to go to, I think it was Ryan Brooks there who got that at the line. Let me just double check that. Hang on a moment. Yes, so Ryan Brooks at a 129.7 will take home the extra point. So that will at least keep some of his pride on guard there, but I think he'll be very upset with how tonight has transpired. Let's watch the podium celebrations as we will just confirm your unofficial results. The only thing that is going to be in a bit of doubt is whose fault was it for the bus stop. We didn't quite catch what happened there. So we'll just have to wait and see, and then we'll obviously announce that next week when we are back live. Of course, that concludes the week for SSRL action. Division 1 and Division 2 have concluded with absolutely cinematic experiences in Jeddah, but next week we are off to Spa-Francorchamps, and the racing may not be as explosive, but it will certainly be entertaining. It will be a question of slipstreaming and DRS zoning, as it is similar to Jeddah, but also you don't have that element of keeping it out of the wall, but you do have the element, though, of keeping it within track limits. So cleanest driver goes to Herman the German. He gets driver of the day by default, although the game awards it to Fellow Son, but we go by the rules of the league, so cleanest driver, it's Herman the German who gets driver of the day. Your unofficial results, your top 10 rounded out by Herman the German, Quincy, Tabran, Ryan Brooks, Fellow Son, then Trugster, Nosebo, Bards, ADS, and Toby. Then from 11th to 15th, it's Rowley, Devsy, Skid Solo, Quan, and Sir Ibo. 3 laps down there. And then your non-finishers are Kovachka, Race Chase, Emin, Sveda. And that rounds out your 19 drivers that took part tonight. But now we are going to start by taking some post-race interviews, and we'll just give a few minutes there for everybody to give, well, just a couple of minutes. We won't obviously keep everyone too long, but Sarah, I just kind of want to ask, how do you headline that race? Not as explosive as last night, thankfully, but it was still quite a race.
Well, we did see a certain few explosions up and down the field, and it's very difficult to follow when, for most of the race, it's quite calm. We see some good racing, especially for the top 2, and then suddenly there's just certain laps where everything happens at once, and it's difficult to really wrap your head around it as it happens.
Absolutely. We're just, if Tabran doesn't come, by the way, we will try and have Ryan Brooks in here, and we can talk about what happened through that little turn 4 instant he had, which gave Herman, Quincy, and Tabran the podium places that they got. But obviously, heartbreak for him, indeed. So we'll see. Tabran's still not showing up. So let's just get things underway, as we are, as some people do have evenings to proceed with. So Herman the German, it's 2 in a row. Congratulations on the second win from Australia to Saudi Arabia. You have been unstoppable, although Ryan Brooks' penalty crash might have played a part into that. Herman, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm a bit gutted for him because his quality performance was better than yesterday's pole, and his overall performance was really great. I don't know how he managed to extend these mediums past lap 11, and then obviously a bit of unlucky moment with his teammate there, almost running into that scenario where he's probably going to be held up. And then I just tried to push the mediums. Kovachka in the middle didn't help. Also 2 VSCs where I basically had less time to catch him. Then a third one, then he spins it, and I'm just kind of gifted the win. I was happy with second. I had to do lots and lots of last-minute adjustments to the setup because after I joined quali sims for multiplayer lobbies, it wasn't really feeling that well. But I'm happy that I kind of achieved the level I wanted for Saudi because despite the history, it's still one of the mid-tier tracks for me, pace-wise and also likewise. So Yeah, I'm not too upset about the second if it would have been Ryan's win, but yeah, I'm gonna take that. Sometimes you get these wins, sometimes you're on the other side. So yeah, that's racing basically.
And just to kind of talk about the pit strategy as well for yourself, Herman, obviously you waited, well, it looked like it was Ryan Brooks undercutting you, and then, of course, you had to kind of come in next lap. Was that always going to be the plan, or would you have rather undercut Ryan now that everything's played out?
Well, the medium was very sensible at the start, so that would have dropped away more for me. So I opted for the hard. Always tried to do that, and I think I just expected Ryan to come in earlier to have like 1 or 2 laps of an overcut in clean air because the dirty air was very heavy inside of the first sector. And then, like, after we put like 5 seconds on the guys behind, we kind of like eased it off a bit. Like, I saw he wasn't pushing that much, and I stayed close to him, but like also didn't try to push it over the limits. Like, at no track limit warnings, and just kept it clean and safe basically. And then after, yeah, he realized his pit window was about to close. Yeah, I just had to react because it was just too close together, and 1 extra lap for the mediums would have maybe cost me more time. And even if I just subtract Kovechka there, then he would have been ahead by like 2.5 or 3 seconds because of the undercut. So that was just maybe unfortunate timing based on when his teammate came in, and also him doing a pretty good job in that clean air to keep his tires alive, because my were screaming and they're were set harder. So yeah, I think this was just a bit of unlucky circumstances for what I also saw from yesterday's race, where people were pitting a lot earlier from the mediums to the hards.
And just one final question for you, once I remember it. But of course, actually, yes, I just have. So of course, that second win in a row, and I was looking at Quincy in chat last night after Ryan took his win in Division 1 last night, and he was like, "I smell a promotion coming." Would you be happy to go back into Tier 1 if this is the form that continued on throughout the rest of the season?
Yeah, for the health of the league and overall the kind of idea we have with splitting the league in 2 parts with and sorting them by pace, I would. I think I sorted most of the issues that held me back from the first 2 races. I have to say most of the tracks coming up are not my favorites, so I might drop down again in terms of performance personally. But I think there's like more of a ceiling now that I can achieve based on what has been happening. And like most of the time, F1 is a confidence game, or most of the racing games are, where you just need to be playing it, which I didn't do prior to preseason nor the first two races. So I think and I know since I'm in the admin team, we're just gonna look at another race probably for both me and Ryan. So I think there's probably a promotion coming after Belgium for both of us. And I think if, like, for example, we would just immediately move into full-time seats again, I think that would also like benefit overall entertainment for Mondays as well.
So, any questions from you?
Nope.
Okay then. Well, Herman, congratulations on the win. Thank you so much for taking my questions. And congrats again. Well done, Herman. 2 in a row here in Tier 2.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Quincy, we move on to you next. Congratulations on what was P2. You had a very good fight there with Tabran for what was P3, and then all of a sudden, P2 opens up for you. What were those final few laps like for you?
They were hectic, Dave. Very hectic. I put myself in a position where I was pushing a bit too hard to try and keep up with the front two. That forced me into a mistake, into the wall, lost a bit of wing, and then from then I was just trying to do some damage recovery, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah, you had that moment earlier on. Can you actually tell us what happened when you lost your front wing? We didn't really catch it on the broadcast. We only saw the aftermath.
It's a bit like yesterday. I was pushing a bit too much, and the tires got a bit too warm in the rears, and I lost the rears and lost my wing. Luckily, it didn't write off the car, which was really important. Really frustrating at the time, but I thought if I could just swap onto a faster tire, go as fast as humanly possible, and hope that something happens that I can then recover it. later on with the safety cars maybe or whatnot, and it turned out all right in the end. I had to push the mediums. I think I was on 60% by the time I got to pit again. But after the virtual safety car, I saw there was a little bit of a gap to the rest of the field. I think there was like 10 seconds. So I knew I'd have to come out behind and do some overtaking if I wanted to get on the podium. So happy with the result, really.
Absolutely. And of course, I mean, obviously this is going to be conversation in the back room for you, but with Ryan Brooks and Herman the German being in what Sarah said was a tier of their own, how do you feel about them being promoted to tier 1 now? Because remember, Ryan Brooks also took victory last night at this very circuit.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult with looking at the results of what Ryan and Herman has achieved so far. I mean, it's only been 4 races. I know this is a big issue though at the moment with the pace, putting people in pace divisions, because some tracks might suit others. I know Ryan, for example, is very good at this track. Obviously, he could have taken the win in PFRL. He had the pace too. He was just unlucky. Herman obviously said himself that he was a bit lucky tonight because Ryan's pace was quite good here. But then you put some rain on the track and he can't keep the bloody thing on the black stuff. So it's very difficult, but there's definitely conversations in the background about who to put where, and we will definitely reach a decision after Spa.
Just focusing on your own race again, what was the strategy going into it? I mean, obviously some of it got influenced by that damage with a front wing, but what was the plan before that?
I was planning to go opposite to Race Chase, so he had a medium, and I knew that the sort of pit lane times, the pit box times from the hard to the medium was only between like 1 or 2 laps. So I thought, if we're going to be keeping up with each other, then we're just going to hold each other up in the future. So I thought, go opposite to Race Chase, go opposite from last night, go hard to medium, try and keep up with the front 2 guys. I didn't expect them to be that quick in race trim, to be honest. I knew they had the quali pace, but I thought I could keep up. But they dropped me pretty quickly, and I was sort of fighting for my life on the hards. Their tyre wear was a little bit higher than last night, in my opinion. I don't know if it was the same for the other guys, but it felt like the tyres were wearing a lot more than yesterday. So I couldn't go as long pushing the same speed that I was. So that's what ended up with me in the wall. So I'll learn for next time. Maybe just take it a little bit more smooth, a little bit more easy, and let the race come to me. I was just lucky tonight, Dave, to be honest with you, mate. Just so very lucky.
But still, you did have to drive it to the end, and that's what you did. So congratulations on P2, Quincy, and, well, we'll see you next week now.
I'll see you Friday. Thank you, mate.
You're very welcome. Now, moving on, Ryan Brooks. You always say you're happy with a podium, but I don't think that would have even been much solace for you if everything had stayed as it was. Considering the contact, you must be absolutely heartbroken.
Yeah, not too happy. I mean, I made a mistake and I paid the price. It is what it is. I drove a good race. Tonight, Herman kept up very well. Hats off to him. I was expecting to drop him at the start. I got out of DRS and the next minute he was back in it. So I thought, okay, I'll keep you in my DRS then and we'll pull away. So we ended up pulling away. I was going to pit on lap 11, but as I was coming around the last corner, my teammate went into the pit, so I had to stay out another lap. And when I pitted on lap 12, I was at about 80% tyre wear, so I weren't far off a puncher, to be honest with you. I agree with Quincy on the tyre wear. Tyre wear was much worse tonight than it was last night. My tyres were nowhere near that percentage when I pitted last night on lap 10 or 11, whenever it was. But yeah, good race overall. I can't be too upset because it's my own fault. I was too busy keeping an eye on the Delta coming off the safety car than I was just getting on with the race. So yeah, it's one of them. I locked up as I was turning because I was watching the Delta. Ended up going in the wall and got wing damage and lost a lot of time because of it. So my own fault. Bit gutted to not be on the podium again. But like you say, it looks like I'm going into D1 anyway. So I mean, I've done better in D1 than I have in D2, to be honest with you. I struggled in D2. I keep making mistakes and whatever else, going into walls and whatnot. So
well, of course, we still have PFRL to come this Friday as well. So let's see what happens. But for coming back onto the focus on tonight, of course, you started on the mediums, went on to the hards. Of course, thanks to that contact, it was, well, thanks to going into the wall, it was then the soft tyres till the end of those final 2 laps. So was that switch from the mediums to the hards always on the cards, or did you just play that out as the race went on?
Yeah, so I planned on pitting lap 11. I told Herman early into the race I would go in lap 11 because we were just speaking, and it was just lap 11. And then when I came round after lap 11 and I couldn't pit because of my teammate, I had to stay out an extra lap. So then obviously I weren't too bothered. Herman ended up getting in front, but I was still there with him. So I pitted, but I had fresher tyres, so I thought I'd just hold it till the end. He did catch me quite quick in the last stint, but then it sort of levelled out at 2 seconds, which I was comfortable with, and then I think I were a bit too comfortable in the safety car, and then ended up in the wall. But I mean, the medium hard worked last night. It was going to work tonight. It's just a shame that I made a mistake and ended up off the podium. But you know, it's my own fault. I can only blame myself. But I'm happy with the race I drove. Other than that.
All right then. Well, going into next week, it is obviously Spa-Francorchamps. I've gotten a couple of drivers' opinions on that, but what about yourself? How do you feel about Spa?
In the dry, okay. In the wet, not so good. I've got a bit of PTSD from Australia last week, to be honest with you.
Well, let's hope you make it past lap 1.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I hope I do. There's a lot more runoff area there, isn't there? So I should be all right. But I'm just going to keep it on track. If it does rain, it rains, and I'll just have to put a bit of practice in the wet to get used to that. I've never been good on the rain. Whenever I've drove career mode, I've always ended up quitting the race because I can't get to the end. So it's one of them things where I've never practiced it, so I'm not very good. Sometimes if I do get a feel for it on a certain track on a certain day, I can feel good in the wet. But other than that, most of the time I'm no good in the wet. So fingers crossed it stays dry. If not, I'll be putting some practice in the wet. So hopefully I can drive just as well in the wet as I can in the dry. But yeah, we'll just have to see. Hopefully I have a good race, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Ryan, thank you so much for taking my questions this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm sorry it wasn't P3, P2, or P1 for you, but still, good race all the same.
Cheers, Dave. Thanks a lot. Speak to you in a bit.
Bye-bye.
Bye, mate.
All right, and with that, we are now going to conclude round 4 for Divisions 1 and 2. SSRL concludes for this week, and we will be back next week. So, just so you can keep an update on the calendar, it is not a 100% race anymore. It is going to be the standard affair, 1 session qualifying, 18 minutes, and then a 50% race with the full qualifying session coming in Netherlands. Now, I can decide when it's a reverse grid from, if I've got this correct, as Quincy has now left. So I believe it is from Belgium all the way to Italy. I can decide when it's a reverse grid, but I will keep that to myself until that time comes, but that'll be fun. But otherwise, I want to say a special thank you to Sarah, who is still here with us for these final few minutes. Absolute pleasure to have her along and give the insights that she has and even raced around this track. So thank you so much for all your insights. I wish you a very good evening. And with that, we are all done for tonight. So from wherever you may be in the world, I do wish you all the very best for the rest of your evening. Like I said before, we'll be back next week on Monday for Division 1 action here in SSRL. But otherwise, we'll also be back for Division 2 action same time next week, as always, on the Tuesday. But until then, from wherever you may be in the world, and from the admins and stewards, and even the drivers, we thank you for watching, and we wish you all a very good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. We'll see you next week for either, or maybe both, Division 1, Division 2. Until then, bye for now.